Story 1. I'm about to marry the love of my life, but his dad, my soon-to-be father-in-law, has very narcissistic traits. My fiancé's brother and sister-in-law believe the same, and my fiancé suspects it too. His mom has always been kind to me, but she is a textbook enabler when it comes to her husband. Since I have been with my fiancé, his dad has done several troubling things. For example, he asked my fiancé to tell him a secret about me that I would not want him to know, and then made my fiancé promise not to tell me that he had shared it. He also threatened to end his relationship with my fiancé if my fiancé did not stop being, in his words, overly protective of information about me. Another incident happened when I was crying and overwhelmed in the car on the way to the airport. For nearly an hour and a half, he ignored my boundaries, talking at me until I shut down emotionally. When I finally told him calmly that I needed to leave the car, call my sister, and go to the airport on my own, he told me that, as a clinical psychologist, he knew this kind of behavior was bad and pathological. That only made me feel worse. He has made comments that belittled me and made me feel small. He pushed me to share private details about my rough relationship with my parents, my difficult childhood, and past traumas. During that same car ride, after I told him I no longer wanted to discuss those things, he started talking about me to my fiancée and my future mother-in-law, disguising it as if he was simply concerned. He often tries to dictate the pace and timing of conversations only on his terms, even when I calmly explain that I am not ready. This creates a very controlling dynamic that leaves me feeling powerless and unheard. He is very wealthy and has offered to pay for each of his children and their new spouses' living expenses for the first year of marriage. I grew up in a lower to lower middle class household, and my parents were never able to offer me financial support. That has always felt normal to me, but because of that, I was looking forward to this gift. It felt like a chance to finally experience a year where I was not constantly stressed about money. However, my soon-to-be sister-in-law, who recently got married, warned me that she wishes they had not taken the money. She explained that her father-in-law now uses it as leverage to control them. He has even threatened to withhold the money from me if I am not open and vulnerable with him. He told me, "I can't help you if you're not willing to accept help," after I shared that I was uncomfortable discussing private details about my loans at a rehearsal dinner. I also did not have information off the top of my head about the interest rates on each of my student loans, which frustrated him. I spoke with my fiancé, and deep in my heart, I know I am not comfortable accepting the money. Thankfully, he fully supports my decision. Just as strongly, deep in my heart, I also feel that I do not want to see my future father-in-law again for a long time, if ever. My fiancé is supportive of this as well, but I am worried about the upheaval this could cause within his family. The hardest part is that my fiancé, who struggles with obsessive-compulsive disorder, recognizes many of his dad's narcissistic and manipulative behaviors. He has even admitted that he sometimes wonders if his dad truly is a narcissist. I have seen firsthand how his dad gaslights him and emotionally abuses him, which makes me incredibly angry on his behalf. During the incident where his dad berated me in the car, my future mother-in-law occasionally tried to step in, but for the most part, she stared silently out the window. My fiancé attempted to defend me at times, but he admitted that he mostly froze and went into what he described as a freeze or fawn mode. Later, he apologized deeply and promised that he would stand up for me more in the future. After I got out of the car, he came with me and even decided to change his flight to go back home with me, since he had originally planned on visiting his parents for the week after a family event. We have been recuperating ever since processing what happened together and working on a plan for how we will handle his dad in the future, both as a couple and as individuals. I know I am rambling a little, but I wanted to provide full context. My partner and I share a wonderful relationship, but this situation has been very difficult to navigate. I have to be careful not to slip into old habits of trying to fix everything for him and myself. I have been in therapy for complex post-traumatic stress disorder and have worked very hard to break codependent patterns. However, this situation has made me feel like I am sliding back into those patterns again. I also notice that his mom's reactions often become a kind of measuring stick for what is acceptable. For example, if she appears hurt, I find myself wondering if that means we have truly done something wrong. Another thing I forgot to mention is that my future father-in-law sent me a very long apology letter after the car incident. It was extremely emotional and overly sappy. It seemed like he was apologizing, but at the same time, it did not feel sincere. The tone came across as manipulative and, oddly enough, almost romantic with how intimate it was written. That made me feel even more uncomfortable, rather than reassured. So, I find myself asking these questions. Is going no contact or low contact the best choice in this case? If you have been in a similar situation, what truly helped you protect your relationship with your partner? I want to start my marriage feeling grounded, united, and safe with my partner. But right now, I feel like I am walking straight into chaos with his family. I am especially worried about how his dad has tried to divide us in the past, and how he may escalate those tactics in the future if I decide to go no or low contact. Overall, I just want reassurance that I am not imagining things or going crazy, because being around my future father-in-law makes me feel like I am losing my grip on reality. Edit. I hear what several people are saying about leaving my fiancé, and I can understand where those concerns come from. However, I think I should provide more context about what has happened with him since these incidents. He has consistently shown that he prioritizes me over his dad. He has also decided that he will set strong and clear boundaries with his father. On top of that, he wants to know what would make me feel safest in terms of those boundaries. He has been fully supportive of me going no contact if that is what I need, and he is also planning to go lower contact himself. He has even said that he is willing to go fully no contact if his dad does not respond appropriately to the new boundaries he sets. Yes, he still has things to work through, but I feel the need to share this perspective. I grew up in a very emotionally unsafe environment. It was befriending and eventually falling in love with him that showed me what true safety looked like. Being with him gave me the courage to begin healing, to face the reality that I had complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and to finally stand up to my own family, even though that process took time. Because of that, I have the patience to walk alongside him while he works through his challenges, as long as I am also protecting myself. He has been proving through actions that he is committed to me, committed to our future together, and committed to setting healthy boundaries to protect us both. Story 2. My hubby, 36 male, is the definition of a gentle giant. A 6'4", 250 pounds blonde, long-haired, hippie, computer programmer. I, 41 female, am a 4'11", 120 pounds tiny feisty woman who can usually hold her own. I look 10 years younger from the front, and literally like a small teenager from the back. The day after the snowpocalypse ended here in West Texas, we went to Walmart, a place we generally avoid, because it is the closest store to us, and hubby had the day off for my doctor's appointment. We made sure to go in the middle of the day when most people were at work. To be clear, I was wearing a black hoodie, a shirt I made that said, "Mask up and back up," and pink capri pants. After we got what we could from the nearly bare grocery section, my hubby and I split up. He went to look at new video games, and I was headed to the craft section. On the way there, I stopped to look at some new foot-open trash cans. I saw my husband about 50 feet away and was trying to get his attention to see if it would work in his workspace. He didn't see me, so I went back to checking out the different versions. I was peripherally aware of some guy talking loudly and then yelling. I didn't pay attention because, hello, I don't work there. I also had one earbud in and was listening to my Country Queens playlist and singing along, probably loudly. As I was leaning over to check how sturdy the foot pedal was, I was violently grabbed and snatched around and came face to maskless face, inches away, from an older Hispanic man who literally screamed in my face. "Where is the—" I did not hear the rest of what he said. I went into instant panic response and let out a full-blown horror movie scream and blindly ran towards where I had seen my husband. A few things about me. I have PTSD, which I generally have under control. However, the stress of being severely asthmatic and a newly diagnosed blood issue during a pandemic has caused me to have a lot more anxiety, and I start to panic when anyone gets too close, and especially anyone without a mask. I am also a former cheerleader and opera singer who worked in a bar for 15 years. My voice carries. My hubby heard me scream. Apparently I screamed his name and dropped everything and came running. I slammed into him and immediately started crying. The idiot guy had been following me, still yelling at me. My hubby calmed me down and asked what happened. I told him. When I got to the part about the guy grabbing me, his face just, I don't even know how to describe it. His eyes were so cold. I've seen him truly angry 3 times in the 12 years we've been together. This was scary. He stormed over to the jerk. "Husband, did you put your hands on my wife?" Entitled jerk, she was ignoring me. "She doesn't work here." Getting in hubby's face, the jerk said she was rearranging the display. Advancing until he pinned the guy up against a shelf, my husband said she was shopping. And even if she was an employee, that doesn't give you the right to put your hands on anyone, let alone a woman half your size. Employee, everyone calm down. What's going on? That witch screamed in my face when I was trying to get help. Then this jerk started screaming at me and trying to attack me for no reason. No. This jerk grabbed my wife and screamed in her face. Then got in my face trying to be a big man. Employee to the sweet lady nearby. "Ma'am, what?" My husband interrupted and pointed to me. "That's my wife. We get this all the time. Physically, we are total opposites. Black-white, short-tall, cheerleader nerdy guy. He looks older than his age with thinning hair and a dad bod and a cane due to a back injury. I look much younger with a dancer's physique. Sweet lady was white and looked older than me. Employee, I apologize. Sir? To me, ma'am, are you okay? Can you tell me what happened? Me, honestly, I only remember him grabbing me and screaming in my face. I screamed and ran away. Sweet lady, I saw it. She was singing and rearranging the stuff right there, and that man was yelling at her. Then came up and spun her around, yelling at her. She screamed and ran to the other gentleman. When the gentleman came to ask him what had happened, he got rude and loud and tried to intimidate him. To me and hubby, the employee says, "Would you like us to call the police?" Me? I just want to get my stuff and go for now. Sir, we are going to ask you to leave the store. Entitled jerk. What? I was just trying to get someone to help me. You assaulted a customer, so you can either leave on your own, or we can call the police and have you arrested. He finally recognizes defeat, and one of the security guards who had gathered around us escorted him away and told him he was banned from the store, and if he comes close to the store again, he'll be arrested. The sweet lady left after telling me I have a beautiful voice and making sure I was okay. The worker found the Disney sticker book I had been looking for months and gave us a discount on our entire purchase. Hubby snuck in 2 other books. He knew I was waiting for a sale to buy and surprised me when I got home. He probably would have gotten me at least 1 anyway. My hubby is the absolute best. Story 3. This happened about 3 years ago and involves my best friend, her son, who was about 3 at the time, and I. She and her son's birthdays are like days apart, so I invited them out to have breakfast, but she's awesome and decided to make Dad babysit while we had a girls' brunch. I brought along a gift bag with a present for her and one for her son. The thing is, I really love giving meaningful gifts. I may not be able to afford something huge, but I make up for it in really trying to find something I think the recipient would like. I've known my best friend since we were 8. She loves to smell good but hates putting chemicals on her skin. I don't blame her one bit, so I bought her a rather nice little collection of natural soaps and her son, who was big into trains at that time, a toy train that you could snap together and it would teach you number colors and such. Well, the thing about this soap is that if you walk into a room, in about 10 seconds you will smell it. It smells divine. Just intoxicatingly good. So we get to the restaurant, get a booth, and I give her the gifts. Of course, the first thing she pulls out is that soap, and she's over the moon delighted with it. That whole corner now smells incredible, and a couple people are like, "Wow, what is that? It smells so good." She also checks out the train and goes on and on about how much her son is going to love it. He did. Our waitress comes over, and she also asks what smells so good. My friend showed her the gifts, and she was all about wanting to know where to get it and so on. I told her. The waitress made a comment that she had a son the same age, and that he was obsessed with trains. We just kind of smiled and laughed it off. Enjoyed our meal, I paid and left a nice tip. And as we're getting ready to walk out the door, the waitress stops us. Waitress: "Hey, where are you going with that?" My friend: "With what?" "That gift bag." My friend mistakenly thinks this woman might like to, for some reason, have the bag these things came in, so she's like, "Oh, do you want it? Let me just put these in my car, and you can have it if you—" No, I mean what's inside. My friend and I are utterly confused at this point and are like, she's putting them in her car to take home to her son. The waitress's face falls. "Oh," and her voice just trails off. Awkward silence. Finally, I ask the waitress if she wants me to write down the places where I got those gifts. She snapped at me and went, "No, I was hoping you'd leave them behind for me and my son." My friend's like, "These are my birthday gifts that she got for my son and I. Why would we do that? That's crazy. She already told you where to buy them. Now excuse us, we're leaving." We start walking out the door, and this lady is a bit large and is sort of blocking the way, and she's like, "My son really loves trains and that soap smells so good. Are you sure you can't just give them to me and buy yourself something else?" My friend: "Yeah, I'm sure. Bye." And we walk out the door, hurriedly. That was by far the weirdest moment either of us had with a random entitled mom. We still joke about it to this day. Pre-COVID, one of us would bring over food and be like, "Hey, where you going with that? My son really loves fries. Buy yourself something else." Edit. The soap was called Black Fruits from Mistral Soaps. It isn't made anymore, but you might still find it on eBay. All of their soaps are amazing. I'm not getting paid by them for this recommendation, but if they wanted to, I accept payment in soaps. Story 4. I never thought I'd be posting here, but after what happened last week, I need to get this off my chest. Sorry for the long post, but this is pretty crazy. Some background first. I'm a single dad raising my 8-year-old son after his mom passed away 3 years ago. We moved to this quiet suburban neighborhood about a year ago, hoping for a fresh start. The house came with a big backyard and a massive oak tree that my son fell in love with immediately. He kept asking if we could build a treehouse, so over the summer, I spent weekends building him one. Nothing fancy, just a simple platform about 8 feet up with walls and a roof. My son was so proud of it and spent hours up there reading, playing with his toys, or just watching the birds. The tree sits right on our property line, with about 2/3 of it on our side. I made sure to check the property boundaries before building anything. Our neighbor moved in about 6 months ago. She's this woman in her 50s who seems to have nothing better to do than complain about everything. Let's call her Karen because that's exactly what she is. From day one, Karen had issues with a treehouse. She came over the first week after she moved in and told me the treehouse was an eyesore and probably wasn't even legal. I explained that it was completely on my property and I had gotten all the proper permits from the city. She said she didn't like it and claimed my kid was probably spying on her from up there. I tried to explain that my son was 8 and had zero interest in whatever she was doing in her yard, but she just huffed and walked away. Over the next few months, she called the city code enforcement twice, filed noise complaints with the police 3 times, and even tried to get the homeowners association involved. Each time, officials came out, looked at everything, and told her she had no case. The treehouse was perfectly legal, properly built, and my son wasn't doing anything wrong. He's actually a pretty quiet kid who mostly keeps to himself since losing his mom. Things escalated about 2 weeks ago. Karen started yelling at my son whenever she saw him in the yard. She would scream at him to get down from there and call him a little spy. She kept saying she knew he was watching her. My son came inside crying one afternoon and asked me why the mean lady hated him. He said he wasn't doing anything bad. I marched over to Karen's house immediately and told her she needed to stop harassing my child because he had done nothing to her. She insisted that my son was invading her privacy and said she had rights. I told her he was playing in his own yard and warned her to leave him alone or I would call the police. She told me I would regret this. I should have taken that threat more seriously. Last Tuesday, I was at work when I got a frantic call from my son. He was crying so hard I could barely understand him. He told me the treehouse had fallen down and his leg really hurt. I raced home to find my son on the ground with what was obviously a broken leg. The treehouse was completely collapsed. But here's the thing, it wasn't an accident. Someone had clearly cut through the main support beam with a saw. The cut was clean and deliberate. My neighbor across the street ran over when she heard my son screaming. She told me she had seen the whole thing. She said that crazy woman next door had been out there with a chainsaw that morning while I was at work. Karen had cut right through the beam supporting the platform, and my poor boy was up there when it gave way. I called 911 immediately. The paramedics took my son to the hospital where he needed surgery for a compound fracture. While we were waiting, I called the police and reported what happened. When the officers went to question Karen, she was still in her yard, chainsaw sitting right there covered in fresh sawdust. The officer asked her if she had cut down the treehouse, and she said that little spy got what he deserved. She insisted she had a right to privacy in her own yard. The officer told her she had just confessed to destruction of property and reckless endangerment of a child. Karen said she didn't do anything wrong and kept insisting my son was spying on her. The officer just shook his head and arrested her on the spot. Turns out, she had no idea my son was actually in the treehouse when she cut the beam. She thought he was at school. When she realized what had happened and saw him injured, she just went inside and pretended nothing happened. My son ended up needing 2 surgeries and will be in a cast for 3 months. The doctor said if he had landed just slightly differently, he could have been paralyzed or worse. I pressed every charge I could: destruction of property, reckless endangerment, assault on a minor, and trespassing since she had to come onto my property to reach the support beam. My lawyer says we have a slam-dunk civil case too. Story 5. This is going to be a lot of context before the main story, so please bear with me. Jackie is the middle sister, with my mom being the youngest of 3. My oldest aunt on my mom's side will be Maria, since she is a saint to put up with my entitled Aunt Jackie. So Maria, Jackie, and Mom. Maria was always the caring nurse's eldest sister, who took care of everyone. My mom was the youngest, who loved cheerleading and being the boss lady of a corporation before giving it up to be a stay-at-home mom for me and my sister. Aunt Jackie, on the other hand, she was the pretty, smart, and petty sister that always got all the boys in high school, but afterwards spiraled. She never tried hard. She didn't graduate from college until she got a social work degree at a community college. I pity the poor kids that had her as their overseer with how she just treated people in general. Her mental health took a nosedive as her looks apparently got worse after high school from her perspective. She got plenty of attention, but any positive relationship she ever had, she destroyed. As a kid, I knew there was something up with her since she always seemed negative or had something pitiful to say. She would snap at everyone and cry about how her life should have been better. She would also tell little me from 7 to 11 to give her my Christmas money before my Nana and Pop, my mom's parents, finally shut her down. She was living with my Nana and Pop from when she was 26 to into her 50s before they finally had enough. She's always been a moocher and plays the victim in every situation, even if the story she's telling was never hers to begin with. Sorry for the long background of my Aunt Jackie. While I don't have ill will towards her and understand her frustrations with her life, her decisions and attitude are what cement her leech-like image in my brain. During the global crisis, I've been staying at home with my parents in our house. This 4-bedroom house has been with us since before I was born, almost 30 years, in a neighborhood that grew around it. The neighborhood would years later become an impressively expensive area with McMansions and golf courses as far as the eye can see. My parents have finally, as of this summer, paid off the mortgage of this impressive and amazing house, and I love living here with them. I pay them rent and water bills as well as food. I have a great room, and am not too far from my office and the store. Plus, I get to cook for my mom and dad for their opinions on my recipes. Win-win. My Aunt Jackie has her own 2-bedroom house and has for a couple years now. Problem is, she doesn't take care of it or herself. My mom has gone on more than one occasion to clean out the house for my aunt because she is physically disabled. Aunt Jackie only screams at Mom about what to do like she's her slave, but refuses to help or praise her. I've wanted to go with Mom to act like a buffer, but she refuses, saying I'll just end up getting guilted and tricked. I've been pretty firm as of late, but I have been known to forgive things more readily than others would allow. So during the crisis, we haven't seen her, but have had phone conversations. Well, last weekend, my Aunt Jackie called my mom to check in. "Hi, haven't talked to you in a while. How are you?" Jackie greets Mom. "Good. Everyone's been doing as well as can be during this time." "That's nice. Now that vaccines are rolling out, it's going to be nice to see everyone again." She always leaves a pause after she says something to try and get more information out of people or make her voice sound weaker and more pitiful. "Yeah, we usually keep to ourselves, so we've been good so far with distancing. What are you looking forward to once everything goes back to normal?" "Well, I can't wait to come visit. My house has gotten so cluttered lately. I'm thinking of getting a bigger house for all my stuff." "Really? Why don't you just get rid of some stuff you don't use instead? Selling houses are tough right now." "Actually, I was hoping you would just let me have your house. I have so much more stuff and your house is so much nicer and cleaner than mine." "Jackie, I already told you no. This is my house and my husband's house. Eventually, it will be my daughter's house. I have no intention of selling it." "Oh no, I don't want to buy your house. Just switch with me. You and your husband can have my house and your daughter, me, can live with me over there." "1. What makes you think I'll let you have my house? And 2. Why would she be staying with you in my house?" "Well, you've had her for long enough, don't you think? She makes all these amazing meals for you and helps around the house. I figure she can just keep it up, but for me. But she'll have to pay for the internet, electricity, water, etc. I mean, she has a job and I only have my little old pension. And with your husband still working, he can pay off the mortgage for my house." Jackie continued with her delusional rant for a few minutes with my mom looking at the receiver like it spewed fire at her. Finally, after a few minutes, Mom got angry enough to cut her off. "You are not setting foot in my house, and you sure as hell are not going to use my daughter as slave labor. You are out of your freaking mind. Good night, Jackie," and then hung up. My mom then had to pop open a bottle of red wine and told my dad and I everything said. While Mom was on the phone, Dad, I was eavesdropping from the other room, praying Mom wouldn't let her come. We were so relieved Mom put her foot down. It turns out, Jackie called Maria to complain about what Mom said to her, spinning a sob story about how cruel of a little sister she was for not giving up her house and how she was going to be alone until she could rent a recreational vehicle to go live with Aunt Maria. Suffice to say, Aunt Maria shut that idea down and told her to stop trying to force herself on other people. At almost 67 years of age. Sorry for the long story, everyone. There are other stories of my Aunt Jackie, but her madness only seems to get worse as the years go on. So I thought I'd share the most recent craziness with you all before going back to rehash the past. Story 6. So, this is my second I don't work here moment in the last 30 days. Incidentally, at the same grocery store, Wood Guys. The last time this happened, I was wearing something vaguely that could be misconstrued as like the uniform of the workers. This time I wasn't wearing anything that could be mistaken for a wood guy's uniform. What I was doing was running my mouth. I got some things going on in my life, and was looking for comfort food that wasn't going to exacerbate certain health issues I have. I decided I needed crab. So, I went to find it at Wood Guy's. Of course I was asked to pick up some ramen and other things while I was there. I've been taking my cousin Paris through the gambit of how to be an instant ramen connoisseur. So I'm there in the ramen aisle, and this guy sees me grab the duck ramen, and he asks me about it. I tell him a bit, and I happen to point out that I have had literally every flavor here, from every different brand. He seems intrigued, so I answer his questions. I tell him which pork tastes the most like pork, which ones have a stronger flavor, or which ones' noodles aren't all that tasty. I strongly suggest Merchant and Mama brands. Offer some tips on how to prepare some things, like adding a bit of red pepper paste, ground beef 80/20, cooked with finely diced onions, mushrooms, and carrots and crushed garlic with your tomato ramen. Or how shrimp ramen comes alive if you cook some fake crab meat with it. Get you some butter, shallots, a little garlic. Cook that together, add your fake crab meat, crumble it, add a little white wine if you got it. Cook it good and finish it with tarragon. I was explaining how sometimes you want a soup, and sometimes you want something thicker. So like with chicken ramen, everything but the creamy kind, which I despise. Roast chicken Merchant and chicken Mama are way good for this. Boil the water first, add your noodles, then let it cook till it's mostly done. Drain 2/3 of the water, then add your oil and packets. Cook it constantly stirring the starchy water and all that will emulsify, giving you a different consistency. Add you some hot sauce to that mix. Top it with some finely cut green onions and thin sliced kielbasa sausage. You want to pan fry the sausage. Anyway, I'm giving a clinic, and I've got a few people listening. After a bit I get my thanks. I make some specific suggestions and all is good. Then someone grabs me softly by my elbow. I look back, and it's this elderly lady who was just standing there listening to me for a bit. I ask if she has a ramen question, not believing I could tell her anything about it. She says something like, "You help me now," with a very strong accent. She points out of the aisle and tries to lead me away. But I don't move. I apologize and tell her I'm just a ramen enthusiast, though I can't have ramen right now, and that I did not work here. She gives me a confused look and apologizes. "Oh, you're busy. I'm so sorry." She is so polite. So I'm like, maybe I can help. I do shop here a lot. I look around for a worker, but there is no one. So I let the lady lead me over to the drinks, and she's asking about the sugar, I think. She can't seem to read what's on the packages. Her glasses are thick, so probably sight isn't the best for her. So I spent, no lie, 10 minutes reading things to this lady. Drinks, soaps, meats, just reading the contents. She thanks me and I think it's over. But she flags down an even older Hmong lady. This one takes me by the elbow again and leads me somewhere. I explain I don't work there, I was just being friendly. But she, who speaks perfect English, insists that she just needs a big strapping guy to grab some things for her. This woman had 2 carts and only wanted things on the top shelf. I spent a good while helping her. Before her daughter came asked me to help her with something. She acknowledged that she knew I didn't work there, but apparently had caught my seminar on ramen and asked if I knew anything about sausages and if I was a cook. I am not a cook. Not trained anyway, but I can throw down. But I know a little bit about sausages. She was making pizza, and she had like Johnsonville, which, okay, is serviceable. I use it from time to time. But I told her that she should hunt down some Purnells if they got it, and gave her a little tip that she should sauté the vegetables before trapping them under the cheese. Cook the sausage first, sauté the vegetables in the sausage drippings, and not bake in the bitter taste of the vegetables. Will change the flavor balance of the pizza. I was then asked to help carry some stuff up to their carts up front by the oldest of them, who was very polite and handed me a $5 bill, looking around like she was giving me drugs. She closed it in my hand and was looking like she was super sly. She goes, "SHHH, for your troubles." and I walk away kind of dumbfounded, 'cause I was there for like an hour for a simple snatch and grab. Later in line, I see them talking to a manager and pointing at me. They seem very happy. He comes to me and thanks me for helping them, acknowledging that I do not work here, but is happy that Wood Guys is that kind of environment. Said if he had any openings he'd ask me to fill out an application. I just smiled and told him I loved the store and the selection. He was pretty nice. Anyway, I know it doesn't have all the conflict and humor of a typical "I don't work here," but this made me feel good about myself and my fellow man. I love Wood Guys. I'm going to miss it when I go back down south. Anyway, my hunt for crab will continue elsewhere.